Vanessa Sturman comes on the show. I think she's actually ended up coming on the show every month. And we just love picking the brains of our expert guests. And she is a real expert when it comes to plant-based eating. In fact, she is a health coach, a plant-based health coach and an expert speaker. And she's someone who is so full of enthusiasm for this way of eating. But she doesn't ram it down your throat either. You know, she knows that everything in moderation is the way to maintain things. So let's pick our brains about, well, tonight we're going to tackle picnicking when we get there eventually, because we've got lots of stuff to talk about. I also wanted to ask your advice on, just in general, what we should eat for our mental health. Yeah, you don't often associate the two things, but they go hand in hand. So I had a catch up with Vanessa earlier today and I said, welcome back to the show, Vanessa. How are you?
Very good, thank you. How are you?
I am well. It's always so nice to speak to you because I know you're going to be so full of beans.
Oh, I mean, literally and metaphorically. But yeah, get that great energy in and our fuel from that food. I promise you, I walk the talk and it is wonderful, feeling fantastic, and having a wonderfully functioning body and gut with delicious food.
Well, that is the key, isn't it? Delicious food. Because I'm going to confess something now. I'm quite good at looking after my regime. But every couple of months, I mean, you'd think it would be a monthly thing and it's kind of in line with the cycle. But it's every couple of months. I got to have a week off. I just got to eat a packet of biscuits and stuff. It's like, I feel like I want to drink some Prosecco and fall off the wagon. And I do it for about a week. And then I get back to the regime. So, I mean, delicious food is obviously the secret to staying on the course. But also there must be a little bit of, I guess, motivation involved.
Yes, absolutely. And I mean, motivation can also just be the way we end up feeling. Because and falling off the wagon, I mean, that has different versions, because I very much believe in making sure you build in those foods that you might love and they're not so healthy, but you let yourself have them so that you don't sort of go, I'm gonna eat all of it, every biscuit in the supermarket all at once. But just building those in. But the more we feel good and eat as much as possible healthily, the more motivation we have to keep doing it. Because I usually find my clients, if they go, oh goodness, I really had a few days of eating horrendously, even though I say, look, it doesn't matter, they say, actually, but I felt terrible. And I actually want to eat better so that I feel good and have the energy that I really need. But that doesn't mean we have to go out the biscuits.
Well, you see, that's me today, feeling a little jaded after a weekend of, well, I'll tell you, I had a burger yesterday with bacon on it.
Right. Well, it's okay every now and then, though, because I know you also love all the other wonderful plants and healthier foods.
I really, really do. And I'm normally very good. And you're totally right. The way it makes me feel is just, so worth it. And that's why we like to bring you in every month to remind us how we can do it with a lot of diversity in our diets and how we can inject new creativity into, what we pick to eat.
Absolutely. And, diversity in what we eat. It's not just about, that's made my life more interesting. That's key to our gut health. It's key to getting all the nutrients we need. So we must get in all those wonderful colours and a diversity of food. That's what's going to keep us healthy and it's going to make us enjoy life.
Okay, enjoy life. We've talked a lot about the fact that, your gut's your second brain and everything, and looking after our insides inevitably makes us mentally better. Do you know much about why that is? I guess it's to do with enzymes or something.
Do you know what? It's a lot of things. So a few bits to think about. Our gut, first of all, it digests food. Our good gut bacteria help us digest food. And we all know that if we're not digesting food properly, that feels horrible. We can get bloating, we can get cramps. That's going to affect our mental health. And it also means we're not going to actually digest the nutrients we need as well as we could. So you've got this digestive part of the gut. We've also got, the gut makes a lot of our hormones and they affect our mood, our body's functioning. And if the gut can't do that properly, that's going to really affect our mental health as well. So there's lots of things that are happening with the gut around, digesting food, hormones it makes, just how that makes us feel. And that's all going to affect our brain. And there's still so many things that we don't know about, but we all know if we've got issues with our gut, that really affects how we feel. And we've got to be able to digest our food properly. We've got to be able to get the right nutrients. That's how we're going to be protecting ourselves against disease. That's how we're going to have the energy that we really need. And, getting more fiber in. And I keep reminding everyone, our good gut bacteria eat fiber. So if we're not feeding our good gut bacteria with a range of fiber, we're not going to have a healthy microbiome. And our microbiome just means the population of gut bacteria in our gut. And we've got to make sure that's nice and healthy and diverse. So we've got to be feeding it with lots of fiber and a diversity of fiber so that it thrives. And when our gut microbiome thrives, we thrive.
Fiber. Do we need to take probiotics, whatever they are?
Yeah, so that's always an interesting question. So probiotics are the good gut bacteria themselves. And we need the good gut bacteria. Now, a lot of probiotics will die before they even get to your gut because they're just not designed to survive the passage down. Not only that, the most important thing we need to focus on is what we feed our good gut bacteria, what we feed the probiotics. And what we feed them is something called prebiotics. But fiber is prebiotic. That's what our good gut bacteria eat. So if we focus on what they eat, that helps them thrive, that helps them grow, that helps this healthy population. And it's definitely a good idea to eat probiotic foods. And you don't necessarily have to eat them every day. A couple of times a week is fantastic. This is things like kimchi, sauerkraut, yogurt. I definitely suggest going for the plant-based versions of the yogurt because that's not going to irritate the gut. That's just going to be really fantastic for you, but go for the ones without sugar. So we need to focus more on what our gut bacteria eat and make sure we're still having some of these probiotic foods.
Okay, I love all of that. That's really, really good advice. Well, it's a great insight. How do you know all this? I suppose it's your job now.
It's my job for sure.
Yeah.
And you know what? I like to really cut through sometimes the things that you're being sold. Often everyone wants to sell you a probiotic. And actually, what is harder to sell is a wonderful diversity of whole foods and fiber that can't be packaged up into one little thing. So sometimes we just have to look beyond the products as well. And I think that's where the real change is made is what is this wonderful diversity of food that I'm getting into my body?
That is Vanessa Sturman, plant-based health coach and expert speaker. So we're in conversation tonight with Vanessa Sturman, who we have on the show with fairly regularity. Should have thought this through, really, shouldn't I? She's on every month, and the reason she comes on every month is because she is a plant-based health coach and an expert speaker. So if you want to go plant-based, if you're thinking about this, it's like a new way of saying vegan without all the politics that goes with it. You can do it via Vanessa's Facebook page, which is free. It's simply called How to Go Plant-Based. And she's also on Instagram, Energize and Thrive Plant-Based, if you want to look her up. So let's rejoin the conversation where I start to pick her brains on the subject of picnics. So let's talk about something that happens in the summer when you want to go on a picnic. I know that you said that you could come up with some really good ideas for a picnic, but that's a classic convenience scenario, isn't it? Where you just want to put together some treats. You want to keep everybody, because the whole thing is focused around sitting down to eat. And and also if you're responsible for packing the picnic, you kind of want everybody to like what you've put in. And and keep the kids entertained and pleased as well. I know that I've just got caught in an absolute torrential downpour, so we might not be picnicking today. But hopefully, people can make a note of this for the weekend and the school holidays. When it comes to plant-based eating, how do we head towards a picnic?
Yeah, this is always a really good question because it can also, when people think I've got to pack up loads of food, the stress can set in for the person who's responsible. So I want to take away some of that stress as well, but also give everyone the options of, actually, I might want to home make some things and I might want to buy some things from the supermarket and we can have a mix. And it doesn't all have to be super, super healthy. We can have a nice balance so that we're not feeling terrible afterwards. We still want to feel full, satisfied, nourished, but we'll still get in some of the naughtier things as well. And this is good no matter whether you are plant-based or flexitarian. You just want to get more of these wonderful foods in. So some of the things that I recommend you could make at home to keep everything as healthy as possible and still delicious is, you could roast a massive tray of vegetables, for example, with lots of garlic. So you could do like a big roast veg tray of aubergine, peppers, courgettes, rubbed with lots of garlic and herbs and a bit of salt and pepper. Put those in a massive Tupperware. That's quite nice to bring. Another recipe I'm a bit obsessed with, if I'm honest, and hopefully the kids will like this too, is a pea and avocado guacamole.
Ooh.
And the reason this is lovely is that peas have obviously got a lot more protein in. So you get a higher protein dish, but it's also a bit better on the pennies as well, because avocado can be a bit more expensive. So it means you just need less avocado, more peas, and you still put loads of spring onion, garlic, maybe a bit of chili in there. Again, that can be nicely packed up. So that's really, really fun as well. And then you can make your own hummus or buy it. So it depends on how you're feeling about how much time you've got. Obviously, it's a bit healthier if we make it ourselves, but it really doesn't matter. So those are some lovely things that you can do. And what I love doing is frying a bit of tofu, and you can get pre-marinated tofu from the supermarkets as well. So you've got some extra lovely meaty protein in there. So I like to pack all of that stuff up and then probably go to Waitrose or Marks and Spencer's and buy some lovely falafels and olives and artichokes and all that lovely kind of antipasti stuff, maybe some lovely sourdough, all the grapes and strawberries and wonderful things like that, as well as the crisps. We love to have some crisps as well. It doesn't mean they should be a big part of the picnic, but if you love crisps, buy those as well. Maybe bring roasted chickpeas as well with you for a healthier version. But it doesn't mean you can't have the crisps, and it doesn't mean you can't have the dessert. A picnic I was at recently, I got some lovely cookies and cream pots that are plant-based from Marks and Spencer's, and I definitely ate them.
That is really helpful, actually, because some really, wonderful food retailers are doing a lot of plant-based stuff. There's a whole shelf. When I go in for my Tesco meal deal, there's a whole shelf of plant-based stuffs, and sometimes if you can't be bothered, you can just do it that way. Let the experts provide it for you. I mean, I know it makes it more expensive, and half the time we end up talking about how to eat plant-based whilst on a budget as well. But when it comes to picnics, it is quite nice to know you can go and get your tasty ready-made sandwiches, and the choices are almost just as big as non-plant-based choices.
Exactly. And I think, it's really important, like you're saying, that it's the choice, that even though we've been talking quite a lot about how do we save money, how do we bulk cook, sometimes you just want to save a bit of time, don't you? And you just want to get to the picnic, buy some things and do your contribution. And you don't want to be worried about, am I making something? But it always means the choice is yours. I tend to go for a hybrid personally. I do love making some things myself, and then I do love getting all those wonderful bits from the supermarket too. And it just means every picnic can be a bit different, which is very important for our lovely variety.
Very important variety. I like this. So you've already given us a couple of recipes, and you can get like plant-based. It's not just raw, is it? It's more vegan, I suppose, is probably the old-fashioned way of calling it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And also a mix of the two is very good for us. So I love, maybe chopping up a load of carrot sticks and cucumber sticks to go in the hummus, but I also love making things as well. So, I love making fritters, for example, to go with a picnic. So those are like little patties, and you can make them with different kinds of leftover veggies. My favorite at the moment, especially if there are kids around, are sweet corn ones, because sweet corn and peas, kids seem to gravitate sometimes towards those kinds of veggies.
Yeah.
And they are super delicious. They're lovely. Again, you can dip those inside the guacamole or the hummus as well. And they're like little kind of mini, like vegetable burgers almost. So they're very fun and they're nice and cooked. But then it's lovely to bring a big raw salad as well, maybe with a garlic and tahini dressing. So tahini is like peanut butter but made with sesame seeds, and that's a lovely dressing to go on a salad. So you could just chop up a big salad like that with a dressing and then buy everything else out if you wanted to. So you've got a mix of the two, but you haven't had to spend too much time at home.
That makes sense. Makes sense. So, my mouth's watering now, you know. That's brilliant, Vanessa. Remind us where we can look on your page so that we can get all of this information for free.
Oh, lovely. So I've got a wonderful group on Facebook called How to Go Plant-Based. That is for anyone who just wants healthier habits, great energy, great gut health, delicious food, and your version of non-restriction. So it's full of people who are fully plant-based, flexitarians, vegetarians, just people who want to eat delicious food and have great health. And if you're not on Facebook, you can find me on Instagram under Energize and Thrive Plant-Based. And I'd be very, very happy to be sharing these lovely recipes with you.
That is Vanessa Sturman. Honestly, it's inspiring and mouth-watering, isn't it, our conversation? She's a plant-based health coach and expert speaker. And just in case you missed it, Facebook, How to Go Plant-Based, and Instagram, Energize and Thrive Plant-Based. I mean, that title on its own makes me think we should.